What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is another Chance Encounter. Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon. I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close. What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building. I'm joined today with Bryan. Is it Robles? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Yeah, you could say it that way. But I say it's Robles. Robles.
Robles. Great, excellent. And I got some great news for you, Bryan. Today, I am joined by my very favorite audience member. Why is my favorite audience member here, you may ask? Well, it's because this is a chance encounter where I interview commercial real estate syndicators, investors, buyers, sellers, developers, all that kind of stuff. Now, why would I do such a silly thing, though? Well, if you've ever heard of off-market deals, they're these private deals, sometimes called 506B deals, then you'll probably know that you need to have a documented prior substantive relationship, or else the SEC will get its ants in its pants and you'll get into some trouble. So I have people on here so we can find out what are your core competencies that you're looking to contribute. And the benefit to you is you will learn how to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate and how my guest fits into these deals. But before we get too excited about your business, Bryan, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself?
Sure. So I've been playing tuba for over 10 years now, believe it or not. And I really started studying real estate through the Robert Kiyosaki ecosystem in 2019, getting ready to actually purchase my first single family duplex or triplex, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then kind of stumbled across real estate or multifamily real estate, and it just made a lot more sense.
That makes a lot of sense, and maybe that's also why you're somewhat soft spoken, is because you've got a tuba to make your point. If anybody, you know, but so let's get on to the first segment here. It's the five distinct motivations. Before I do that, though, I gotta say, but wait, check your eight. Hey, Bryan, I don't know if you can see through the camera and down there, but the audience might have this hideous subscribe button, and maybe they should, do something. Okay, it's a stupid joke, but I do it in every episode. But the five distinct motivations, everybody has a unique reason for getting into this, and I need to know them because I need to see why somebody's going to actually go through with these deals. They take months just to close, years just to end up going full cycle, and so we need to find out what's going to keep you sticking around instead of just throwing in the towel. The first motivation that some people have is preservation of purchasing power. What's that all about? Well, see, some people already have a portfolio of assets and they use the proceeds of ownership to make ends meet. So why would somebody in that situation want to make another commercial acquisition? Well, if inflation is eating away at the purchasing power of the cash flow, that's one reason. But the other one is if there's distress, asset crashes, things like that, if you can buy at a steep discount, that's why these people will make their next acquisition. But that's not me right now. What I'm up to is trading time directly for wealth. What's that all about? I've got a background in technology. I've been promoting commercial real estate and real estate players since 2014. And that's through their CRM funnels, their IT, their web funnels, all that kind of fun stuff. And my old boss was flipping 10 houses a month. And I was sitting there going like, well, why am I paying more in tax than anybody? So it hit me, how can I pivot where I'm getting rewarded in the form of deployed capital, aka equity, rather than high salary and giving half of it away to tax. So that's what I'm up to, but that's a little too abstract for some people, especially a lot of youngsters. What they're up to is they want to take control of their schedule. Maybe that means they want to fast track retirement, or maybe it means that they want to work fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or something like that. And that's what's attracting them to these big commercial deals, is basically they want to scale back long term. But that's not everybody. Some people, they're just plain ambitious. They're after that generational wealth. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's why they're accumulating this wealth, why they're making these acquisitions. And it's fantastic because they're going to hustle all into their 90s. They're never going to quit, which actually has a lot of similarity with this last group, who they've picked a sector of society, or maybe it's the environment, maybe it's animals, maybe they want to send people to space, who knows. But if you want to make a big impact, there's a financial component too, and that is why some people are making their next acquisition. So Bryan, of those 5 different motivations, what combination of those would you say describes you best?
Sure. I think there's two that really stand out to me. One is being able to make an impact for me is to, in the long term, to be able to have a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization to help people, just rise above their current situations and, really work on themselves in all areas of life. And the other one that really stood out to me was the generational wealth. I think King Solomon, arguably one of the richest men that ever lived, I think there's a verse along the lines that says, the wise man leaves an inheritance to the children and the children of his children. So that's kind of what sticks out to me.
I love it. I love it. That brings me to the next question, though. It has to do with tolerance or risk, though, because the fact is there are all sorts of risks in any kind of investment. And if you've ever been involved in a 506B deal, one thing that securities attorneys tend to insist on is that anybody who invests, they fill out this really invasive questionnaire, has all kinds of questions about your finances, probably more than you're comfortable with. And the fact is, by the time you filled it out, that syndicator will know more about your financial situation than you might even know about your parents' financial situation. But there are risks involved, as I mentioned, and the question that was on that questionnaire, that it bugged me a little bit because I felt like I couldn't really use that information to gauge how much tolerance a person has for risk. So instead, I have this fill in the blanks question right here. There are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. So Bryan, for you, what's too risky? It can be inside real estate, outside of real estate. What's too risky for you?
Sure. I think the biggest risk for me is something that's outside of my circle of competency. So I think it comes from Warren Buffett, right? Some people love him, some people hate him, whatever. But I think just being outside of my circle of competency, and for me, that's along the lines of cryptocurrency.
I love it. I love it because, like, at the end of the day, you can't eat crypto like a subscribe sandwich. That thing just kills me every single time. It's a not very subtle way to suggest that subscriptions are important, but it also tells me it's time to pull out the Dan Does Deals Commercial Core Competency Cube, and you can get your own copy for free at dandoesdeals.com. And like a complete dummy, I don't even ask for your email address, which is like, that's the cardinal sin of marketing. Okay, you never give away your freebie without asking for some sort of contact information. But as I said earlier, I want you to be able to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. And I also want you to understand how my guest fits into these deals. So in every episode, I take 2 minutes, I go through the 6 different roles so that you can see exactly how all this stuff works. And I start off with repositioners. Repositioners are acquisitions people. They're looking at a bunch of different properties and they're doing a bunch of paperwork. What is that paperwork, you may ask? Probably not. Anyway, what they're doing with the paperwork is they're underwriting the deal. That means they're doing the math. They're doing the arithmetic. They're figuring out, first of all, is this building actually making the amount of money that the seller slash broker claims it is? Because it's not so likely. But the repositioners, the term repositioner is a little bit unusual. A lot of people in the business, they call these guys investors and those guys investors and those guys investors. But repositioners are specifically finding more upside in how the properties run. They're trying to find more profit, figure out how they can make that building make more money. And I'm going to start with one of the less conventional ways, as far as less intuitive ways that repositioners find upside. One is by talking to the financiers, who are people who only deal with paper and money. They are the lenders. The reason why every repositioner has to have a whole whack of financier friends is because if they can secure a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the profitability of the building. So that's why they always know lots and lots of financiers, lots of lenders, people who are not going to be on the GP team. But the more traditional way, the more conventional way that a repositioner finds upside is by optimizing those operations, stopping those Benjamins from going down the toilet. But of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rents and mowing lawns. As a matter of fact, once you get to around 100 units or more, you're probably going to outsource your operations to a property management company. So then what is the role of a general partner if somebody else is running the building? Well, that brings me to my skill set, of course. The two things that I tend to bring to GP teams, one is my ability to automate through programming and applications online. And then the other one is also a marketing component, which is that even if you are outsourcing to a property management company, you might have a vacancy rate problem. So somebody on the GP team better have some really good marketing chops to get those units filled. So that's where I come in. But of course, if the repositioner is going to try and rely only on operations, they're going to have a bad time. So frequently, the repositioners have to get a contractor team involved to do a value add, to do renovations on the units so that the next residents will be more than happy to pay more in rent than the previous ones. But you still have to be super duper careful when it comes to contractors. You could spend endless amounts of money upgrading those units without getting any return on your investment. Like, why are you gold plating these toilets? That's not going to earn you more rent at all. So that's just crazy talk. So somebody has to keep an eye on these contractors to make sure that they're keeping to schedule, that they're not using substandard parts or anything like that. And if you're like me, see, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm from the internet. So that means I need locals. I need boots on the ground, somebody who can be there in an hour or two, because you can guarantee that's not going to be me. I'd still be stuck at an airport in an hour or two. So somebody, the boots on the ground, has to be nearby so that they can keep an eye on the contractors, make sure everything's getting done in a timely manner, and making sure that the operations team, the property managers or whatnot, that they're not basically faking results and all that sort of thing. So once the repositioner has assembled this team and they found an ideal property, they'll turn around to the financiers and say, hey, I got this great property. It's 350 units. It's tens of millions of dollars. You don't have, I don't know, tens of millions of dollars you want to lend us, do you? And of course, the thing that they're going to need to know, and if you're in a coaching program or a guru program, you might know that they kind of gloss over this piece. They're going to say, who's your sponsor? Who's your KP? What's that all about? Well, hypothetically, let's say you're a physician or an engineer, an attorney, something like that, and you're thinking, hey, I think me and my friends, my circle of friends, we can pool our resources and we can take over this local apartment complex that's nearby the office or whatever. Well, the issue you're going to run into is that you're not going to be eligible for a commercial loan unless somebody in the fold already owns a similar asset. So in other words, you'd have to find somebody who already owns a 350 unit apartment complex, or else you're not going to be eligible for the loan with your team. On top of that, you need a certain amount of liquidity, and then you also need a balance sheet among the ownership team of at least the amount of the loan. But if you have all those pieces, you got yourself a commercial real estate deal. Now, Bryan, as far as you're concerned, these 6 different sides here, what are some of the core competencies that you're most likely to contribute to your next deal?
Of course. So for me, it'd be a repositioner. I'm really looking to be active from the beginning of the deal to close, and then after, really just looking to be an active member and really be a workhorse, if you will.
Mm-hmm. All right, I love it. And that brings me then to the buy box. And when investors and syndicators are talking to each other, different players in this space, and we say, hey, what's your buy box? What's your ideal property? We're really asking about 3 main things. First one's geography. Where is it? Which states, which county, possibly even which neighborhood? It's all going to matter. Okay, so we need to know where the property is going to be if it's going to be perfect for you. The second one is going to be size. Now, most of my guests on this show are in multifamily, which means apartment complex commercial real estate. And the way that you judge size in apartment complexes is based on unit count. And the reason why it's so important is because if you're talking about 15 unit apartment complexes, it's going to be a completely different team compared to the ones that are taking over the 150, the 350 and up apartment complexes. So that size definitely matters. Of course, if you're talking about industrial or other types of commercial real estate, it can go off of square footage, but in multifamily, it tends to be unit count. But the third one is called class. And unfortunately, people have a habit of using 2 completely different things and calling them both class. And I split those into the condition and the area. Now, if you're talking about condition, that means how old is the building? How beat up is the building? Is it basically up to date? Is it full of luxuries and amenities, or is it pretty bare bones, nothing really exciting? So that's the area, or sorry, that's the condition. But the area, on the other hand, that's specifically asking about what are the school districts like where the property is located? What about the crime rate where the property is located? And then, of course, the old saying of location, location, location. I don't like that saying, because what I think they really mean is traffic, traffic, traffic. In other words, how many people are going by that property in any given day? That's really going to dictate the desirability, which is what they're trying to say by class. And both of those two different versions of class, the area and the condition, they rate it the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A, and then A minus, and then B plus, and so on. But Bryan, as far as your buy box goes, what's easier to say yes to and more difficult to say no to?
Sure. So I guess I'll start off where not looking in California, right? But primarily Jacksonville, Oklahoma City, and Salt Lake City. Really looking for a vintage of 1980 and newer. B class, preferably in B areas and lower A areas. Obviously, 100 units is ideal, but there's always a little bit of wiggle room in both class and size. So that's kind of the gist of it.
All right, I love it. And so then the next question has to do with people. And the best part of commercial real estate, people are so eager to help each other out. I think it's because it's so multifaceted. Nobody's going to be all six sides of this die for any meaningful amount of time. And so that means we're all also eager to help build new partnerships, take down new deals. But at the same time, because we all have our own unique skill sets, we're better off helping some people more than others. Me personally, between my social media chops and all that kind of stuff, I am, after all, a top commercial real estate voice now on LinkedIn. I got a badge and everything. It's amazing. But because of all of that and the automation, the CRMs, mass marketing, event creation, courses, blah, 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 the sponsors and KPs are the people who generally have a foundation that can support somebody like me, where I can really make a disproportionate difference compared to when you're first getting started up as a repositioner or a local. Because repositioners and locals, you need grunts. You need people who will be putting in 80 hours a week, just talking to people endlessly. And that's not ideal for me. But I still want to talk to locals as well, because after all, I'm from the internet, so I depend on them. But Bryan, as far as you're concerned, I don't know if you have any 506B deals. Don't mention any specific 506B deals, because this is public, but you can still say that you're interested in meeting passive investors, the financiers, which is a pretty common need. But don't let me put words in your mouth. Who are you looking for? Who can you help more than others?
Sure. So who am I looking for? Really, boots on the ground is definitely an essential piece. And sponsors and KPs, really, they bring this experience and liquidity. And just in general, I think just looking to help people just like me that want to make a difference in the world and help others and are in it for the long run.
All right, I love it. I love it. Then my next question, then it has to do with how to reach out. And me, I'm fortunate because I got this rather distinct last name. It makes it really easy to find me, especially on LinkedIn, where I spend most of my social media time. But if you scan this QR code that's right there, that goes to the FAQs page of 506B which is the platform where I offer the service of helping you document your prior substantive relations for your investor portfolio. The idea being is that you have to have that IT in place so that you don't lose it due to hardware failure or whatever else. It's nice that when I do it, it also is third party verified. So you can't really argue that it wasn't a real thing. And the reason why it's important is because if you do have the ambitions to get a lot of assets under management, the SEC will audit you once you get to a certain level of a portfolio. So it's important to have that figured out before you get started. But Bryan, if people want to reach out to you, which social media platform, or is it email, phone? How should people, website, how should people reach out?
Sure. So I'm most active on Facebook. I have most of my following there and friends there. But you could reach out to me on my email, brobles at mu. That's M as in moo and U as in us, capitalinvestments.com. You could also reach us at the website, mupcapitalinvestments.com.
All right, I love it. I love it. And then the last thing I have, it's actually not for you, Bryan, it's for you in the audience, is my public service announcement, which is if you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing like steering pains in your eyeballs, like migraine like symptoms, I'm confident it's due to the hideous subscribe button that's right there. And the good news is that you don't need a prescription to get rid of that subscribe button. You just click on it and it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. And of course, I'm motivated for people to click it because if enough people do, then YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. I think that would be amazing. And the trade-off to you, just so that we're clear, it means that my videos might show up on your list of suggestions, but you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions because quite frankly, I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Bryan, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been really great.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay, are you already logged into 506B me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506B me, everybody.